Yeah, sure. What's not to love? I mean, the real estate industry is filled with the perception of the luxury lifestyle, sex appeal, a career where you can be your own boss, do whatever you want, make millions of dollars, live the lifestyle of the rich and famous. But is that the reality, or is that just what happens on reality TV? Oh, and real quick, before we get started, if you're watching this video and you want to scale your business, primarily as a listing agent, where you can grow a or multiple six-figure income, I just launched a free course. There's a link to that in the description. So it makes sense why thousands of people every year get their real estate license. I just want you to think about this for a second. It just seems as though everywhere you look, every social media platform you turn on, all you see are real estate agents dressed up in fancy clothes, in front of fancy houses, in front of fancy cars, talking about the sale they just made. Oh, it's closing day. That's all you see. And so no wonder there's this huge appeal around the real estate business. And you think about how many real estate agents there are in every single market. And from the outside looking in, it seems like every single person that gets into real estate is wildly successful. Or at least that's what they want you to believe. And so you see, here's the reality. No one wants to quit their full-time job, tell everyone they know that they said, listen, I'm getting into real estate, and then post on social media the actual truth, which for most people, it's the fact that this business is a lot harder than they thought it was going to be, that they aren't making as much money as they thought they would be earning, and that they're actually thinking about quitting. They're actually thinking about going back to the business. They're not posting any of that. They're only posting a highlight reel. They're posting a facade. They're posting the rare occurrences that happen in this business. And so here's the truth. Most people in real estate are a lot more concerned with looking successful, truthfully, than actually being successful. Because again, the appeal to the business is luxury and this sex appeal. And so they ran around for God knows how long, weeks and months, sometimes even years, telling people that they care about, listen, I'm thinking about getting into this real estate thing. I'm thinking about getting my real estate license. Then it went from that to, okay, I am getting my real estate license. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to build this huge, amazing business, to, hey, I quit my job. You know, the job that I hated, I've been bitching about for the last 15 years. I quit that job. And I'm actually in real estate now. And so they made promises to their spouse. They made promises to their kids. And so everywhere you look, it's, hey, look at me. Look at how successful I am. Why? Because they don't want to be wrong. They just spent the last, again, however long, telling people how great this decision that they were going to make was going to be, and all the reasons on why they wanted to get into real estate, and all the upside on why it makes sense, the convincing they had to do, the arguments they had to get in with whoever about leaving the thing they were doing to getting into this thing. So they wanted to keep this status symbol of, I'm doing really well. And so they spend time getting those, professional headshots. They rent the fancy car. They do the photo shoot, the ones with the arms crossed, the realtor pose. They do all of that to put on the front. And then in just a few months, happens all the time, you see this post from that person on Facebook that reads, started job at XYZ company, out of nowhere. And so here's the truth. And that's all that I'm interested in this video. And if you stick with me throughout today's lecture and today's episode, I'll tie it all together to make a lot of sense, okay? So there are about 1.6 million real estate agents in the US right now. About 50% of those licensees have sold 1 or 0 homes in the last 12 months. That's right. Over half of the people in this business haven't sold a house. Over half. And therefore, half of the people that are real estate agents have made, of course, $0. About 70% have sold less than 5 homes in the last 12 months. Now, when you look at the average home price of about $425,000 and the average commission rate of about 2.5%, it's about a $10,000 commission check per sale, which means that the 70% of the industry is making 50 grand in top line revenue, in gross income. Now, when you subtract out broker splits, which are about 30% on average, and by the way, I'm not sure if this is for you or not, you can decide, but if you're a real estate agent, you're watching this video and you're not earning at least $100,000 per year, you feel like you're overworked, you're underpaid, maybe even underappreciated, perhaps it's time to talk. If you're serious about growing your real estate sales business and you're open to having a conversation to determine if working with me as your coach makes sense or not, then click the link in the description beneath this video or simply go to reverseselling.com to book a call. You take out expenses of another, call it 20%, another, call it, 25% of income tax. 70% of the industry is actually only making about $25,000 a year, about $2,000 a month take home. That's what 70% of the industry is earning. Only 20% of the industry is earning 100K or more. So of that 1.6, and it's more like 2 million real estate agents because some aren't with NAR, about 20% are earning 100K. Only about 5% earn over 250K. And when I did the research, this is insane. Less than 1% of the industry is earning over 500K, and 0.001% earn over $1 million a year. And so the point is that the vast majority of the people that are running to this business because of this glam lifestyle, get rich fast business, it's actually extremely rare to find somebody who's actually making a lot of money. You see, it's a fantasy to think that everyone in real estate is making money. In fact, the opposite is actually true. Almost everyone is not making money. That's the truth. That's the reality. Now, furthermore, there's about a 90% chance that an agent's going to fail out of the business within their first few years of being in the business. So the question I always ask myself is what's going on here? If on one hand, from the outset or from the outside, the outsiders all think, okay, all these agents are making a ton of money. And people have told me this before. Man, all these realtors seem like it's all good-looking people and it seems like everyone's successful. It looks like this wonderland of success. There's another person that got into the business. They're succeeding and they're succeeding. But then when you are on the inside and you actually rip apart the facade of social media and the highlight reel people are living on social media, and you look at what's really happening behind the curtain, you find that it's extremely rare to find somebody in the business of real estate that is actually earning a substantial income. So the question is, what's actually going on here? So let's get into truth number 2, which I call the Wizard of Oz. So if real estate is so difficult, and it is, and there's only a small chance that someone actually succeeds, then why are thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, mind you, that get into the business every single year? And the answer is really simple. It's uninformed optimism. So let me explain. You see, The industry knows exactly what to say to get people to come running to the business if you really think about it. It's genius. Listen to the message, okay? Here's the message. In the real estate industry are geniuses. Here's what they've done. They make an entire industry built on a false narrative that promises to solve everyone's biggest pain points in their career. Listen, this is the easiest marketing message of all time. Escape the 9-to-5 and build your own business. Appeals to everybody. Be your own boss, they say. Get the freedom you've always wanted. Unlimited income. And it's messages like this that gets people in herds to come to the industry. Escape the 9-to-5? Yeah, I hate this dead-end job. Be my own boss. Do what I want to do whenever I want to do it. When I feel like doing it. Oh my gosh. Who doesn't want that? Have freedom to come and go as I please. Make all kinds of money. Well, here's what's interesting. And this is what I call the Wizard of Oz. You see, the exact thing that attracts people to get into real estate, which is the things I just outlined, are the exact things that cause people to get out of real estate. I mean, don't you find that a bit ironic? Don't you sit back and scratch your head to say, okay, well, why is it that people actually fail out of the business at such insane rates? Why is it that 9 out of 10 people actually don't make it in this business? How is that possible? And then you start to look at the factors and you quickly find, well, it's because they have no structure. It's because they have no accountability. It's because they have no transparency. There's no visibility into what they're doing on a daily, weekly basis. None of the things that a real business operates from. You see, here's what's so interesting. The reason why real businesses actually are profitable and actually succeed is because they have these things called employees. Those employees come in and there are guardrails in place. You need to show up at this time. You need to leave at this time. Here's what you're going to do when you're here. And if you don't, here are the repercussions. And as a result, those people behave and produce the way that they need to produce to get the company the result that they're after. Otherwise, what? They get fired. Then they come into real estate. They drop those fundamentals. No guardrails, no accountability, no structure. It's a free-for-all. And that is the exact thing that causes people to fail out of the business. It's very interesting to me. So here's another Wizard of Oz moment. You see, it's not in the real estate industry's best interest to tell those people that want to get into the business the truth. Here's why. And frankly, it's another genius move. So agents only get paid when they sell a house, of course. But how does the industry get paid? You see, the industry gets paid regardless if you sell a house or not. Isn't that interesting? You say, okay, most business relationships have their interest tied to one another. Those people that work in the business, such as bonus structures. In other words, when the company wins, you win. Not in this case. This is one of the only industries where the industry makes money when the people are actually not winning. It's insane because of the fee structure, which we'll talk more about in just a second. The industry is getting paid fees from realtors, regardless if the realtor is actually succeeding or not. The industry still gets paid. And this explains a lot. This explains why the barrier to entry is so low. Why would they make it high? They want as many people paying those fees as possible. It makes sense why there's zero production requirement to stay in business. That there's absolutely no requirement to even sell a house to continue to stay in this business. Well, of course, we're getting our fees. We don't actually care whether or not you're selling a house because we're getting paid regardless. It's interesting. You see, the industry, which is made up of associations, boards, MLSs, brokers, the way that they have monetized this industry is based off of a fee structure that realtors are required to pay. And they're required to pay these fees regardless if they succeed in the business or not. I mean, what an awesome model, right? What a phenomenal business model. You can't fault them. You build a business that you get paid, and even if you're a customer, in this case, the realtors are the customer of these associations, et cetera, you actually get paid when your customers don't do well. It's one of the only business models I can think of that operates this way. Super interesting when you sit back and start to think about it. And in fact, the National Association of Realtors, which is the biggest association in the business, they've collected over $300 million from real estate agents in just a year's time. And they pay their executives millions and millions of dollars on a salary every year. This is what I'm talking about. You see, these agents that are struggling so badly, we'll get into it, but I talked about it already. In the first chapter, when I talked about the agent's production, 70% of the industry is making $25,000 to $30,000 a year. I mean, that's like below minimum wage. I mean, that's below like the average income in this country. They're barely surviving, yet the associations that they are required to pay are making hundreds of millions of dollars. So in addition to collecting these fees, this is even crazier, the industry also capitalizes off of another little secret. What is that secret? Novelty. Okay. You see, when somebody first gets their real estate license, this is when they're at their peak motivation, their peak optimism. This is when they're the most excited, right? And this is where they can usually get a couple quick sales from their friends and family based on that enthusiasm. So they come out of the gate and they're screaming from the mountaintop to everybody who will listen that they're in the business, which typically translates into a couple of quick home sales. The industry knows this. And as a result, most of the time, they're starting off brand new agents on a very, very, very hefty commission split on their first couple of deals. So in addition to all the fees that they collect, regardless if you sell a home, they know that the new agents are going to sell 2 or 3 homes real quick to the people that they know. And as a result of that, they take a huge, huge chunk out of that agent's commission because they know that the likelihood for reality to set in, which is after they've sold those couple of homes, their production kind of goes to zero for a while. And that's when kind of most people quit. So they say, okay, let's get why the getting's good. And so while this brand new agent's all excited about being in the business and we recruited him here and we made it seem like so sexy, come on to this business. It's unlimited income. You're going to love it. It's amazing. They don't ever tell you the actual truth. And then once you get in, they monetize it like crazy. They soak as much as they can out of you as possible so they get paid as fast as and as quick as possible before there's time for reality to set in. And this is why the industry as a whole prioritizes so many resources into going after and recruiting and preying on the new real estate agent. All right, truth number 3, no one is coming to save you. You see, you are, in fact, an independent contractor. You are a 1099 independent contractor. You are, in other words, a business owner. And so real estate is an extremely lonely business. And the fact is that is extremely rare. Now, there are some good ones, okay? And I'm going to get to kind of why I'm making this video and where I'm taking this in a second. But it is extremely rare that a real estate agent goes and joins a company and that company is supporting them in a way that produces income for that agent. Now, brokers are really, really good at giving you forms training and contracts class. That is not what I'm talking about. And this is probably a different episode, but if a broker is talking about, hey, we provide training, that's what they mean 90% of the time. 90% of the time is, hey, we provide training. What they mean is we will help you fill out paperwork. We will teach you how to upload a listing into the MLS. We will teach you how to upload photos. We will teach you how to use our system in order to get paid. We'll teach you how to do all that stuff. But when it comes to the things that really matter, like acquiring a client and getting paid, they ain't going to do it. Why? This is not a broad brush, but for the vast majority of managers and broker owners, they themselves have not walked the walk. Not everyone, okay? I don't want that to come out the wrong way. I mean that with respect. There are some really, really good brokers, but it is rare. Most of them are in that role because, quite frankly, they themselves couldn't do it. They themselves couldn't sell a lot of homes. Otherwise, they would continue to do that. Trust me, I had a brokerage. You make a lot more money selling houses than you do running a real estate company. And most people do that because they say, well, I want to stay in the business, but I can't sell houses. That's too hard. There'd be no other reason why they would want to do it. Because otherwise, the other business model that makes way more sense than opening a real estate brokerage is to start a real estate sales team. That's where a lot more margin is than running a brokerage. And so that's why when agents get licensed and they go and join a company, they learn really quickly, holy crap, yeah, I'm in trouble here. There is nobody here that's going to save me. I thought that I was going to get my license and I would go into this brokerage and magically clients would just come out of the woodwork and find me. I thought that my broker would teach me how to go out there and do this. I had no idea that I'm going to just be by myself on an island, that I have to go out there and just figure it out on my own. And so when they go to their broker, when they go to their manager, when they go to their whoever recruited them, right? They put on the full court press. They took them out to nice dinners. They took them to sporting events, et cetera, et cetera. They sold them this huge vision of this lifestyle. When they go back to that person and says, okay, dude, now what? The person says things like, well, work your sphere of influence. Call your friends and family. Post on social media. That's the advice they give. And they aren't able to help a person actually go out there and acquire new clients. Which brings me into truth number 4, which I call the effort mirage. So let's talk about another truth that people just really, really don't understand. And that is that most are vastly underestimating the amount of effort it takes just to be average, let alone great. Just to be average. Let me put this in perspective for you. And we could talk about this. In all the years that I've been coaching real estate agents, here's what I know. That on average, it takes about 250 real estate conversations to sell one house. 250 conversations about real estate to sell one house on average. In order to do that, I'll put that into perspective. I'll give you some context. It takes about 35 hours of prospecting to get a deal. It takes about 35 hours of active, I should call it proactive prospecting, where you're going out there and generating conversations. You're picking up the phone, you're knocking doors, you're going to networking events, you're sending emails, you're sending text messages, you're talking to homeowners. It takes about 35 hours, which would yield you about 250 conversations. And the math on that for the analyticals is about 7 conversations per 1 hour, right? So if we look at 35 times 7, you get about 250 conversations to get a deal. And so when you look at that and that reality, it starts to put things in perspective really quick. Because when you look at what most agents are doing, 250 conversations to them seems like a milestone that is absolutely unattainable. And for most, it is. Why? Because they don't spend any time prospecting whatsoever. They are waiting for business to find them based on the bag of lies that they purchased. That's what I talked about earlier in this episode. And so they're waiting for business to find them. I just snapped this picture of a great agent on Instagram. He sent me a message. I'm going to read this to you. It's really simple. It's really fast. But it just reminds me of how real this is for people. Let me see if I can find this. And he talked about this. Here it is. He said, Brandon, I for real thought, it's right on my phone right here. I for real thought that real estate was just sitting in an office and helping people who walk in wanting to sell their homes. People are clueless to the amount of effort that realtors have to go through just to get a single lead, let alone a sale. And isn't it so true? And so people that get into the business who think, okay, man, this thing is easy. I see all these people making all this money. It can't be that hard. Look at Susie Q. I used to work with her back at XYZ company. I used to kick her ass all the time. If she's winning at a big level, my gosh, it can't be that hard. Lo and behold, they only saw the one post from Susie Q. That was the one home that she sold for the year. And she made fireworks around the one home sale. And that's all you saw from her. So your perception was that she was really, really successful. And then you get into this and you vastly underestimate it. You see, 35 hours of prospecting. If you're going to do that type of work, even if you were to prospect, call it, an hour a day, it'll take you a month and a half to actually generate that one deal. But we know most agents don't prospect an hour a day. Are you kidding me? Most agents are prospect. If they're lucky. I mean, let's be real honest. I mean, that's what this whole video is about 100% transparency and truth and honesty. Agents don't prospect. They are taking the path of least resistance. They sit around and wait for business. That's what they do. They post on social media and wait. They don't ever proactively go out there and generate conversations with homeowners. No, they go back and wait. And here's what ends up happening is agents are busy being busy. They say they're working 7 days a week. They're chasing buyers around town all hours of the night, working crazy hours, nights, weekends, and they're making peanuts for their first couple of years. And this is what's required in the early days to even have a chance, and people vastly underestimate it. Let's talk about truth number 5. Real estate agents are sales people. This is one of the most difficult ones for people to wrap their head around. I interview a lot of agents that I coach right here on the YouTube channel, and it's one of my favorite questions to ask, which is, what aha did you get, or what aha did you have before you got into the business and after you got in the business? And it was this one, that I had no idea that after I got my license that people wouldn't magically just show up in my life that wanted to buy and sell houses. I had to go out there and prospect. I actually had to be the one to go out there and generate my own business. And if most people knew that, they would never even get into the business. Real estate is a direct outbound sales business. That's what it is. And most people still fight it. Even though they can pull out their license of their wallet, their real estate license that is, they can look at it, and on the license it says real estate salesperson's license. They still refuse to call themselves a salesperson. Yes, there's all kinds of head trash around what it means to be a salesperson and all of that. At the end of the day, we are in a sales business. You're out there selling a service. I don't know how else to say that. And if you can't understand that you're in a sales business, and if you're selling a service and the service is you going out there and helping people buy and sell a home, and you're not good at selling that service, it won't be long until you are no longer in business, my friend. If you think you are in a customer service business, people say all kinds of stuff. I don't know. They come up with all kinds of ways to describe what being a real estate agent is. Anything but a salesperson. And that's part of the problem. Because if you don't understand you're a salesperson, you won't prospect. If you don't understand you're a salesperson, you're not going to work on your skill set. You're not going to work on your mindset. You're not going to be a person of discipline, of focus. And the reason why I think a lot of people aren't willing to accept that is exactly that. They don't want to accept responsibility to say, I am in control of my results. I want to be able to blame other people. So when I say outbound sales business, what I mean by that specifically is exactly what I said a minute ago. You do not get your license and then magically people start coming to you who want to buy and sell homes. Sure, does it happen from time to time when you're in the right place at the right time and you get lucky? Sure, that will happen. But I don't think you got into this business or you're thinking about getting into this business to make 10 grand. I mean, there's a lot of other things you can do to make $10,000 or $20,000 a lot easier than going out there and being a real estate agent. And what I mean by outbound is you have to be the one to go out there and initiate conversations. And that's what makes this business so difficult. People don't like that. They don't want to go and interrupt people. They don't want to deal with rejection. They don't want to deal with any of that. And it's a very selfish mindset because it makes them feel a certain way that they don't like. And so therefore, they refuse to serve the community that they say they want to serve. And it's a very selfish mindset. I don't like the way prospecting makes me feel. So therefore, I am not going to reach out to those people that need my help. And because real estate is a sales business, you have to actually work on your skill of communication, which for the vast majority of people in the industry, they just don't do. They don't record their phone calls. They don't record their meetings with prospects and then come back and listen to those recordings and break down the recordings of those videos. They don't do any of that. They just wing it. They don't study the market. They don't preview property. They have imposter syndrome because they are imposters. Because the barrier to entry is so low that any Tom, Dick, or Harry can get their license in a weekend, call themselves a real estate agent, and go and list someone's most valuable asset, and then they feel guilty. They should feel guilty. Because here's the thing. Most people think when they get into real estate about being the practitioner of real estate. Oh, I like houses. That's what they tell me. I like houses. And so I can show people houses. That's no problem. But if you can't sell your service, then I don't care how good you are at being a realtor or how good you think you are at being a practitioner, you must be a salesperson first. And that's like any other business. If you cannot sell the service in which you offer, then there would be no clients to serve, and therefore your ability to serve clients is irrelevant. All right, let's talk about truth number 6, what it actually takes to succeed. All of that to say, I just spent the last, 35 minutes talking about some truths and some things that nobody's willing to say. No one's willing to shoot agents straight. And I believe I've got a duty to shoot you straight. I believe I owe it to you on this platform so that you know what it is and what it is not. And then you have the option to deal in the truth. Because that's what you need if you're going to be a listing agent. That is what you are going to need if you're going to succeed in this business of real estate sales. If you cannot tell people the truth or you can't handle the truth and you only deal in emotions, it's going to be very difficult for you to help navigate one of the most emotional and stressful transactions that people ever go through. And so in this truth, we first have to talk about this idea of have to be versus be to have. So as people are navigating this extremely difficult industry, they are always looking at, okay, I have to have this type of lead. I have to have this type of business model. I have to be with this brokerage. I have to be on this team. I have to be in this market. I have to look a certain way. I have to be a certain. They think about these things in terms of tactic, strategy. I have to have the perfect social media. I have to have the perfect website. I have to have the perfect CRM. And they're getting it all wrong. This is what I spend so much time on. It's not what you have to be. It's who you must be in order to have. It's who you must become in order to have what it is that you want to have. Let me explain. It won't matter about the tactic or the strategy that I teach you in any of these videos. If you are not a person, you don't have the character trait of discipline, you're not going to do it anyways. I mean, let's be really, really honest. Again, that's what we're here to do in this video. Most people consume information for the sole purpose of mental masturbation. They just want to consume content to trick themselves into thinking they're being productive, but they actually never implement any of the information. They just consume. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But in order to actually get results, it doesn't matter what tactic or what strategy that you use. It's about the person you must become in order to have what it is that those people have that you say that you want. And so oftentimes people say, okay, I see that successful agent. She's making, we'll just make up a number. She's making $250,000 a year. I want a business just like her. So then they go on this hunt of, well, what is she doing? What CRM does she use? What website does she use? They never ask the question, who do I need to become to get the results that she's getting? Because it doesn't matter what tactics she's using. The reason why whatever she's doing, open houses, cold calling, door knocking, social media, networking, fill in the blank, none of it matters unless you have the discipline and the focus and the mental toughness required to do things for a long time without getting results to make any of it work. Because nothing is going to happen fast. So succeeding in this business has everything to do with who and not what. That's number one. Number two, what it takes to actually succeed in this business is high levels of accountability. So when you look at people that are producing, I talked about the numbers earlier on in this video. When you talk about becoming in the 5%, you see, that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody says they want when they get in the business. There is no lack of ambition, my friends. People don't get into the business and say, well, I'm getting into real estate because I want to make a little bit of money. I'm getting into real estate because I want to make less money than I'm making right now. No, they get into the business because they want more of something, more freedom, more money, better lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. There is no shortage of ambition. However, we already talked about there's a huge gap between ambition and results. We call that cognitive dissonance. The people who are actually succeeding in this business have the highest levels of accountability. I talked about it. Isn't that ironic? That the very thing that the people that want to get in this business are looking for, which is this freedom, this mindset of I want to be my own boss and do what I want, are the same people who struggle in this business. Because the people that are succeeding at the highest level, they've got a coach. They've got somebody holding them accountable to doing the things they're supposed to be doing to get the result that they say that they want. And I don't care if I'm your coach or somebody else is your coach. You've got to have some type of an accountability system in your life in order to get the results, myself included. If you are a human being, humans are built to take the path of least resistance. So we have to make sure we have accountability. And in this business, there isn't any. Remember I told you, no one's checking on you. No one cares if you come up and show up to work. That's why you have to go out there and find it. That's number two. Number three, visibility. In addition to accountability, here's what we know about human performance. We all perform much better when we know people are watching. So when we talk about visibility, we've got to create an environment. We have to work in an environment where there are people watching. And for you, it might be different. But in my world, if I'm coaching agents, we create environments where people prospect together on a Google Meet or on a Zoom or on a Discord. You don't just go at it alone. We create visibility so we can see you, we can hear what you're saying, and then we track your numbers so everybody can see what you're doing. Because part of visibility is telling the truth. This isn't, post on Instagram with this filter and that filter. No. This is actually stepping on the scale naked and showing the world your bank account. That's what I mean by visibility. We're only interested in the truth. There's nowhere to hide. And the more visibility you have, the better you will perform. And then number 4 is skill development. Because this business is a skills-based business, it's a sales business. We talked a lot about that already. You have to have a process or somebody or something that is teaching you how to develop your skills, how to go out there and be a better communicator. Someone who can go out there and teach you how to navigate the real estate market. Someone who could teach you how to actually get your listing sold. Someone who can teach you the marketing and the sales and the lead generation tactics and strategies to go out there and get more clients. Someone has to teach you. You have to go through some development in order to go from where you are right now to where I think you want to go.